Well, guys, last week we saw the documentary about Wells Crowther, the man in the red bandana. This is his mom, who's the woman in the red bandana today. This is Alison Crowther. She's here just to talk to you guys. We're doing the red bandana game on Friday, as you guys know, and the money that we raise from all those bandana sales is going to go to the Crowther Trust, which gives scholarships, which helps curriculum all over the country, and kind of helps people learn about character education and sacrifice and selflessness. So, Alison, take it away.
Well, thank you. Thank you all very much. I was just saying earlier that it's my greatest pleasure to come and speak to young people about Wells. To me, it's the most meaningful thing I can be doing because I see how inspired young people are by Wells' story. So that is just a mission that I have now probably for the rest of my life, as long as I can keep forming words intelligently. Anyway, Wells was a lot like you all. He played Pop Warner football, but he ended up in middle school and high school. He was small for his age, so he ended up playing lacrosse and ice hockey. Those were his two favorite sports. So he was very involved with that kind of work through high school, and then ended up being a varsity lacrosse player at Boston College, which he just loved. Wells talked to me a lot when he was in high school about team. He loved being on a team. Nyack is a very diverse community, and they have young people in the schools that come from all kinds of backgrounds, everything from single mother living in the projects in Nyack and some housing for them, all the way up to youngsters that grow up in mansions overlooking the Hudson River. And they all mix it up in the school district there. So it is taught from a very early age to respect one another and to respect one another's differences and try to understand each other for their differences. This is really huge. So Wells would say to me, "Mom, I really love being on a team. Do you know why?" I said, "Why, Wells? Why do you love being on a team?" He said, "Because when you're on a team, you're all one big family working toward a common goal. All the differences that we have, the socioeconomic differences, religious, cultural, racial differences, they all disappear, and we're like one big family working toward a common goal." So this was huge for Wells. He really embraced that kind of thinking. He always watched out for the other guy. He was a top scorer in ice hockey, but he had just as many points for assists as he did for actually making a goal. There's one famous story that I'm not sure if you heard it or not. I'm not sure it's included in the ESPN documentary, but one of his younger teammates hadn't had an opportunity to score a goal yet, and he was getting very upset and very frustrated. This was in ice hockey. So Wells he was co-captain at the time, he went up to the coach and said, "Coach, put John on my line." And he said, "Why?" She said, "Just put John on my line, okay?" And so the coach did. John was center forward, and Wells played right wing. And he had a reputation for being a top scorer. So they're skating, and Wells said, "John, just keep your stick on the ice and skate straight down the ice. Head straight toward the goal." So Wells comes down the ice, the goalie's off center, watching Wells, expecting the shot to come from Wells, and Wells takes he's going to do a big slap shot and dekes it over to John, who dumps it in the goal. And this moment, this gesture has never been forgotten for this young man. He is passionate about Wells. He is now works with young people down with the Carolina Hurricanes. They formed a team called the Carolina Capitals, and he teaches this story over and over again to his young people. So this kind of small moment, this kind of gesture was very Wells, but the impact goes on forever. Kindness, caring for others, team, the power of one, what you can do as an individual to make a real difference in this young man's life, to make a difference in the world, to make a difference wherever you go. It doesn't, whatever you do doesn't have to be in a situation as life-threatening as what Wells did. But all of us have an opportunity every day, over and over again, to choose to do the kind and the caring thing, the thoughtful thing, the generous thing, the courageous thing, or do you do the selfish thing, the it's all about me thing, get out of my way thing. You know, choose the right path, and you'll change the world. And I think that's how Wells felt very strongly. So there is a documentary film now that's come out about Wells called Man in Red Bandana, and it's not playing here locally. It's New City.
Actually, you can see it on iTunes and Amazon now.
Right. Yes.
You can stream it on iTunes and Amazon.
Right. Yeah. It is available. It is available there, and I think I would advise seeing it. It gives you a really in-depth discussion of what happened on September 11th, and the writer Matthew Weiss did a very in-depth research and actually found for us more people that Wells actually interfaced with. We only knew of two for years, Ling Young and Judy Ween. We knew there were other survivors, but we had never had any confirmation that they knew about Wells or heard Wells or anything. And in fact, yes, they did. Probably 10 people have now confirmed that Wells directed them, helped them, they heard his voice. So he was a fully trained volunteer firefighter. He was an equities trader for Sandler O'Neill and Partners, but he was a fully trained volunteer firefighter. So he had the skills to do what he did that day, and he had the courage to get him there, and he had his red bandana to protect him from the smoke and the debris flying. And that was his only piece of equipment and his big heart. So all of you have that within you. And have faith in that. And just as you go through life, don't be afraid to face what seems difficult or impossible. Because once you engage with it, you'll see that you can actually accomplish a lot. Well, Wells would say get out there and give it your all.
Thank you.
So,
Appreciate it so much.
fundraiser for the trust. That is just so wonderful. So get out there and sell those bandanas. People are going to want them. And it's really great. We do a lot of good work with our charitable trust. If you want to find out about it, you can go to crowthertrust.org and read about some of the things we do and some of the videos, including President Obama choosing to talk about Wells at length at the dedication of the 9/11 museum. Very impressive, you know, just, I mean, oh my gosh, that was such an honor for Wells that he chose to talk about Wells. So that's in there too. It was a beautiful ceremony. It's really worth taking an hour and watching it. It was really beautiful. So I think
I would just like to thank you for taking your time in your day for coming to speak with us, and on behalf of myself and also of the football program, and you know, we really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Happy to do it. Good luck, guys. Have a great season.
Thanks. All right, let's go. Time to go.
Hi, I'm Emily Crowther, a volunteer with WCTV here in Washington Township, and we have the privilege of talking with Alison Crowther, the mother of the man in the red bandana, and Pete Kramer, the father of a famous Westwood High School football player, and a former colleague of mine from the good old days at the Journal News up in Rockland County. By the way, we did want to point out that the lohud.com site has some very good footage about Wells and the story of the man in the red bandana. So many people already know the story of the man with the red bandana was your son, who helped people out of the World Trade Center on that horrible day. I understand that at first you didn't know about this. The word filtered back a couple of months afterwards. And that must have been so heartening to hear about his role in helping people survive that day. His training kicked in. You mentioned to some of the football players about you do what you're trained to do and you try to do the right thing at the moment that you're called on to do that. Tell us about some of the values you raised him with in doing that.
Oh goodness, well, you know, we like to say he came with the software installed. He was just such a sweet boy and seemed to have this very caring nature. He had a baby sister. He loved to help take care of her. He was very protective all the way through college. They all went to Boston College, but Wells and Honor were there at the 2 years apart at the same time. So his protection then was not so much appreciated by his sister.
Right.
I think we tried to instill honesty. We tried to instill responsibility for your actions. We tried to instill doing the right thing, always. I don't know. My husband likes to say it takes a village, to...
All right. Well, in the village is where he got his start as a volunteer.
That's right.
Is that the Highland station there?
No,
Oh,
it's Empire. That's
Empire.
right. Empire Hook and Ladder
Yeah.
Company, #1 of Upper Nyack.
Yeah.
And yes, he went when he always idolized his father. So he would watch my husband go racing out of the house when the fire alarms went off. And I think that Wells was a great adventurer. He loved excitement and adventure. So I'm sure this appealed to him. When he was a little bit older, not during fires, but he would go with my husband down to the firehouse to help clean up the engine, just to hang around. It was a nice bonding time for them. So when he turned 16, he joined as a junior firefighter and went through all the training at the Rockland County Fire Training Center. Gordon Wren was in charge of that at the time and still is, a terrific person.
Yes.
And so he became a regular firefighter at the age of 18, and he had all the skills and the knowledge of a paid firefighter, of a member of FDNY, or any other paid company. So he was blessed that he had those skills to do what he did that day.
To draw on, yeah. And that volunteer spirit. I looked over some of your charitable website wording, and it just is so inspiring. That's what you want to do. You want to inspire the kids. You've got a whole Red Bandana project where you go out into the schools to teach leadership and good deeds. And I noticed your educators who helped put together the curriculum are outstanding.
Yes.
To teach good deeds, civic service, leadership, pay it forward, and let's see here. Your other things were remembrance, natural disaster, and man-made disaster. It's really important stuff to be aware of. At any age.
Yeah. You have the training and the skills. It helps you deal with the situation. It helps you stay calm.
Right.
And Wells was very calm. That was one of the qualities that the women he saved reported to us. When it was months. It wasn't until the end of May 2002 that I read the story in the New York Times that started referencing this mysterious man wearing a red handkerchief, a red bandana.
Which he started in Nyack. He started wearing it in Nyack.
Well, he was very little. My husband, I think in Pomona probably. My husband was getting Wells dressed. We used to live in Pomona for a while. And he was getting Wells dressed for church in a little gray suit. And Wells said, "Daddy, can I have a white handkerchief like you have for your pocket?" And my husband said, "Sure." Well, so he goes in and he grabs one of his good handkerchiefs. And then he just happened to grab a red bandana, because my husband also, he always carried bandanas with him. And so he said, "Well, here, Wells," folded up, put in the handkerchief and said, "This handkerchief, this is for show. Don't touch it, just leave it alone. This bandana, this is for to blow your nose, for messy jobs." And so he gave it to Wells, he put it in his back pocket, and he said, "Now that's where you keep that." And Wells kept it ever after. He always was with it. He was down at the firehouse. The joke was my husband carried blue ones and Wells carried red ones. But that started because Wells started with a red bandana, and then it was easy to tell them apart in the laundry. So, very simple.
Right. So, we are familiar with Wells's story, but now you've filled us in on the history of the red bandana, which is really a nice angle to have on the story. I know that you have been an inspiration for many people in the way that you've carried on in his honor. And I just wanted to ask Pete how you feel that this story and Wells's life inspired you and helps the kids here, and your son as well, your children.
Well,
you've got more than ones.
I have multiple, yeah. No, I mean, it's a great story. I mean, and as a reporter, I tell stories for a living. It's what I do. And I mean, how can you not be captivated by this story? Not only what Wells did on that day in the face of unbelievable odds, he put his training to work, but then how Alison and Jeff have carried on and turned it into a legacy, into something that people can learn from. A lot of people could just say, "Oh my gosh, I lost my son," and that's the end of it. My world is over. I'm sure there's an element of that for Alison and Jeff, but there's also an element of paying it forward and saying, "Look at what he did in this horrible time, and what he made. He gave other 10 people, are around now because of his actions on that day." And you think about it. I mean, the South Tower they say that 18 people survived above the 78th floor, and Wells is directly responsible for at least 10 of those people getting out alive.
He was on the 104th?
He was on the 104th floor, but he went down to the 78th, and he went up and down carrying people on his back to safety. Remarkable story. So we wanted to try to instill that kind of, first of all, teach that, because some of these kids were not even alive. Some of the kids on the football team weren't even alive on 9/11, which blows your mind. But then also to kind of teach them that lesson. Schools all have a lot about character education. There's programs and stuff that are built to that. This is a one-stop shop for all of that character education. You know, it was like, what would Wells do? I mean, that kind of thing. You kind of think that way. You kind of think, how can we carry ourselves? Right now, they're out there practicing football. And that's great. Football is a great sport. You know, basketball is great. All the sports that they do are wonderful, but there's a life beyond the line. There's a life outside the lines, and this is what this program is all about.
Exactly, and out there in any sport and in any activity here at the school, you build teamwork and leadership skills out of that teamwork.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm a violinist and I play in
Yes.
an orchestra.
Right.
And that's a big teamwork thing. You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be sports. It could be theater. It could be in class, teams that you set up for learning. You know, the team, anytime you're working with another person,
Right.
you've got a team thing going on there. And it's very important to understand what makes for a good team, and understanding others and caring for others and embracing their ideas, not just being a leader that says it's my way or the highway. I talk about that too. You know, that's just a bully, unless you're in the military or you're talking to a policeman. Then you better do what they say.
You do what they say, but yeah, they're doing it for your safety.
But it's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But it just makes for a much richer and better outcome
Right.
if you embrace other people and welcome them into whatever you're doing.
So that's the spirit of the red bandana. We're going to honor everybody Friday, September 15th here at Westwood High School, and then on at Boston College and other places around the region,
All over.
all over
The country.
all over
Yeah.
the country, and the Charitable Trust. People can learn more about the Charitable Trust. We'll put the URL online so
It's,
you can link to it.
crowthertrust.org.
Crowthertrust.org. And you can read there about not only the trust and its work, but the Red Bandana Project also. And educators might want to link into that to use in the future with their students.
I want to point out one thing, that we kind of, in the spirit of the day, we invited Pascack Hills, who was our opponent on Friday, to get involved. They didn't like the idea of a red bandana because their color is orange, and we totally get that. So they've been selling orange bandanas. So we're gonna have red bandanas and orange bandanas. Hopefully more red bandanas, but you can never tell. So the stands out there will be filled orange on the right and red on the left, and this will be a
cool.
great opportunity to kind of get together and take it beyond the game.
Take it beyond the game. Wonderful words to end on. Thank you, Pete.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for inviting me here today. It's just been such a pleasure meeting the young men and seeing Emily again, who I knew many years ago in another
Thanks.
another child's project.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Great. Thanks, Emily.